Going back to before I got slammed with a case of the Corsola measles for 1 week, you may remember that I was traveling around Taiwan with the Weiwei, and since our time in Taiwan will soon draw to a close, we decided to extend our visit family in Taipei trip to include a 2-day stay in Jiufen and then an additional 2-day stay in Jiaoxi. If you caught the last video, then you will know how magical Jiufen is, and while Jiaoxi is more of a sleepy hot spring town, it is full of beauty and surprises nevertheless. So for anyone interested, here's what we got up to in Jiaoxi. Upon arrival, we had already been traveling for 5 days, so we quickly visited the coin laundry to refresh the wardrobe, and then grabbed some stinky tofu for dinner. Yes, it stinks, and yes, it is 5 out of 5 delicious. If you've never been to a hot spring town before, it is well worth checking one out, and while I especially love the camaraderie and atmosphere of the public baths, we were lucky to have a sulfury and smooth private bath in the room to relax in. Of course, in Jiaoxi there are plenty of free to use hot spring foot baths around town, so you can sit down and rest your feet whenever the mood strikes you. That night we took it pretty easy, but the next morning I got up early to work with a cup of coffee and some company, and I have to say that I really do love just how many lizards there are living in and around homes and buildings in Taiwan and Japan. They make short work of bugs, and they are very cute to boot. For breakfast, we had the best green onion cakes I've ever eaten, and it came as no surprise that they were so delicious given that the town is well known as a producer of fresh and tasty green onions. However, even at this time of year, Taiwan is still hotter than episode 83 of the Pokemon anime, so we spent much of the day undercover. First, sitting down with a glass of Coke and letting a swarm of fish clean up our feet near the Central Hot Spring Park, and then walking to a faraway cafe for lunch before hanging out in a nearby 7-Eleven for some chats and brewskis as we continued to do our best to beat the heat. Until, at long last, we were able to head for the mountains where we took a pretty wild van ride up to a restaurant with a beautiful view of the city. The air was fresh and cool, the vibes were on point, and the walk back home down quiet country roads was a calming and truly memorable experience that I will probably never forget. And then, the following morning, we began our journey back south, and I got COVID. This strange intermediary Taiwan chapter of our lives is almost over, but once we leave, I do wonder when we will be back. 2 years later? 5 years later? Well, if you have any ideas on what I should check out before we depart, let me know. And with that said, have a great week, and we'll chat again soon.